Awesome. So one of the best things about the Sitecore community, and particularly the women of Sitecore, is we hype each other up. And so Vishali, that was really good, and I am so envious of you because user research is one of my favorite things to do, and one of the things I get to do almost never. So I'm so jealous that you get to do this all the time. And I just want to emphasize and put a big exclamation point on everything that you just said, because very often when we're pitching projects or doing estimations, user research is sometimes the hardest thing to sell. Like that's the first thing that people are willing to put on the chopping block. And what I tell our clients is that if you haven't done user research since COVID started, you do not know your users as well as you think you do, because every single thing in our lives have changed. So if you have clients who are kind of hemming and hawing on their investment in user research, just remind them of everything in our lives that have changed and everything that we do differently or we do digitally that we didn't do 4 years ago. And they need to invest in that. And they need to invest in smart people like Vishali to do that, who have experience and really know what they're doing. Because don't base big decisions on assumptions. Base it on things that you really know about your users. So I will shout it from the rooftops that user research is worth the investment. And so is analytics. So that's what we're going to talk about. So we're all in the Sitecore universe. We're all marketers or technologists or strategists. I don't need to tell you guys how to do this. I don't need to tell you why it's important, why it's worth the investment. But I do want to start by telling you a story. So we were working with a company, and they had a big email program. They had a guy on their marketing team, and all he did all day was crank out emails. That's literally all he did. I can't remember what email platform they used. It wasn't Salesforce or anything particularly sophisticated, but one guy designed and cranked out emails all day, every day, and he hated his job. And so I was kind of curious. I'm like, well, gosh, they must have a really sophisticated segmentation and, program going. So I had them put me in their system as kind of one of their VIP level segments. And so over the course of a month, I got 41 emails from this company. And in all those emails, of all the CTAs and all those emails, they went to 2 places on their website. That's it. And I was kind of shocked. And I went back to them and I was like, so that's a lot of emails, and you have one full-time guy just cranking out those emails to they had 5 or 6 different kind of segments and groups that they sent out to. I'm like, is that working? If I got 41 emails from one company and they only went to 2 different places in 41 emails, I'd probably unsubscribe, but that must really be working. And he said, oh, we don't know. They didn't know. They had absolutely no data on their unsubscribe numbers. They didn't have any analytics on their click-through rate, on their traffic. They didn't know if it was working. They just knew that it was one guy's job to build emails all day, every day, 5 days a week, and he hated every single second of it. So our job is to pull guys like that back from the ledge and say, my dude, there's probably better ways for you to spend your time, because sending people like me 41 emails in a month is probably not a great way for you to spend 40 hours a week. And numbers are available, so let's figure out a way for you to find those numbers and look at them and make better decisions. So all of that to say, this company had a huge marketing budget in the many millions of dollars a year. And even they weren't spending money on analytics and attribution. So we all have clients and companies that we work with who are big. They're big global companies. And you would think they have an analytics team, that they have this really dialed in, that they've got, all of this automated, and they're pulling it in and they're analyzing it and they're doing things with it. And I'm probably not the only one on this call who is shocked at how often they're not looking at their numbers. They don't know what they should be looking at. They're not doing anything with it. And very often they're not willing to spend a lot of money on making sense of it. So how do we as good consultants convince them that it's worth spending a little bit, doing a little bit, just to get started with making sense of the numbers that are out there. Now that we're in a composable world, and they probably have numbers in a whole different a bunch of different places. So that's what we're going to talk about today, kind of more the consulting aspect of this. And so in true Barbie fashion, come on Barbie, let's go party. So analytics and attribution, what's the difference? Analytics is figuring out what your users are doing. Attribution is figuring out, is what we're doing working? And attribution can be website attribution, but it can also be trying to figure out, that email campaign that we did 6 months ago, is that resulting in anything now? How long is the buying cycle? Is it days or months or years? Is there any way to tie the revenue of a sale back to an activity that happened weeks or months or years ago? How difficult is that to do? But it's really important to at least be mindful of these things so that you're spending time and effort on the right things. And these really go hand in hand. And so let's say you have the dream client, and in the last year, they bought all the cool Sitecore things. You rebuilt their website on XM Cloud. You configured CDP and personalized for them. They've got Content Hub. They're using Send. They've got Search. Well, they've got numbers and analytics and data in all of these places. And so so that's kind of a lot, and you can kind of tie all this together reasonably well, and you can make it look good and make sense. But this probably isn't their only ecosystem. It can escalate really fast. So if you have Screaming Frog and Moz and SEMrush, what some companies do, maybe they've got their blogs on WordPress. Maybe they spin up landing pages on HubSpot. Maybe they have some Salesforce stuff for CRM or their social. Maybe they have Service Cloud. Maybe they use Site Improve. Maybe they use Hotjar. It can get out of hand, and they can have data and analytics sitting in a bunch of different places. And yes, there are very sophisticated ways you can automate the export of this data and put it all together in a nice, dashboard. But if you have a client who is really starting from nothing, they probably aren't going to invest in that kind of, development investment. So what do? Because you know what? They're overwhelmed. They've got data coming from everywhere. And it's all the Barbies going, hi Barbie, hi Barbie, hi Barbie, hi Barbie, hi Barbie, hi Barbie. And they're losing their mind. And they're going, they're making angry Ken noises because they don't know where to start. So how do we help? How do we get them from this paralysis to at least getting started? Because if you have this huge Barbie land, and if you're taking the 50,000-foot view like this, there's a lot to pay attention to. And you could probably give them 50,000 data points, and it's overwhelming. It's too much. I mean, there's a lot of Barbie dream houses on here. There's a lot of beach. If you haven't seen the movie, you have to go see the movie, or this isn't going to make sense to you. There's a lot of beach. There's a lot of little shops. There's Barbie Dales. There's, a lot of things to pay attention to. And so if you're trying to watch all of it, you're not going to notice when Ken turns Barbie's dream house into the Mojo Dojo Casa house and moves in with all his Kens and moves out all your stuff, and they start watching The Godfather on your TV. You're going to miss the stuff that matters if you're trying to watch everything. So you just need to start. And it's okay to start small. And it's okay to start kind of simple and do it by hand and kind of manually. You just need to get started. So when I'm working with clients who are not going to give me any money to work with and not a lot of hours, and it's probably just me, and I'm not a developer, I can't build, really technical dashboards. Where do you start? Inventory your platforms. Literally make a list of all the places where you have data and analytics and put them in a spreadsheet, make a tab for each of them, and what exactly are they measuring? Are they measuring your behavior on the site? Are they measuring, like on CDP, are they measuring transactions in different places? Are they measuring, search terms on your Sitecore search? Like, what exactly are they measuring? And just make the laundry list on each tab of what exactly they're measuring. And then, if you can, what format is the output? Like, if you're going to export that, how might that be exported? Or are you going in and literally like looking it up every month or every week, or how often you're going to do that? And then who has access? If one person is going to be assembling this every month, whether it's us as a consultant or them as the client, make sure that the right people have the right level of access to get their hands on those numbers. And then what data really matters? I mean, let's go back to the Barbie Dreamland 50,000 foot view. You don't really need to pay attention to every single thing. If it touches your user, that's the most important. Does it reflect their behavior? Does it indicate their frustration? Does it show where they're getting stuck? Does it show where they're not converting where you think they're going to? That sort of thing. But make sure that you're keeping an eye on at least one data point from every channel that you have. So like, don't ignore social, don't ignore email. Of course, don't ignore your website. Try and watch all your forms, that sort of thing. Like, keep an eye on everything so things don't get completely haywire, but you don't need to watch like every metric for every channel that you have. And limit the number of KPIs to what you can actually manage and act on. And that depends entirely on the bandwidth of the team that's going to be analyzing this, whether that's us as consultants presenting the client with dashboards and reports, or the internal team kind of managing that. What can they reasonably wrap their arms around on a monthly or quarterly basis? And here's the thing, make it pretty, make it easy, make it really easy for them to understand and digest what the story is. I hate Excel more than anything in the whole world. Please do not put a spreadsheet in front of me. PowerPoint is your friend. Put one data point on each slide and then measure it either day over day, month over month, quarter after quarter, year after year, that sort of thing. Make a Pinterest board of cool infographics and blatantly copy the layout. I am not a graphic designer, and I am certainly not going to go, bug our graphic design team to help me with, laying out a dashboard. So I'm going to go fake it. I'm going to go steal somebody's layout. I'm going to proficientize it and use the right colors and fonts and that sort of thing. But I'm not going to waste my billable time trying to come up with some snazzy layout when somebody's already done that piece. Go ahead and steal somebody's layout and brand it how you need to brand it. But here's the important thing. Consistency and discipline are everything. Don't do this for a month or two and then let it go. Make sure that you do it, whatever your cadence is, if it's monthly, if it's quarterly, if it's weekly, whatever you decide that is with your client, make sure you do it consistently all the time, and that you're looking at kind of the up and down. You're looking for trends, you're looking for patterns, you're looking for something crazy that falls off the face of the earth. What caused that? Oh my God, like, did part of your website go down? Did something happen? You're looking for indications of changes in behavior or changes in your platform. Did you make a change to your website? Did you move a piece of content and now people can't find it? Did you change a form and it's pissing people off, or they don't know how to fill it out, or you're asking for too much information? That's how you know if you're doing the right thing. Going back to the Shally and the user research. User research is how you start. Analytics is how you know if you're on the right track or not. And those two really need to be hand in hand from beginning to end. And seriously, you thought I was kidding about Pinterest? Not kidding about Pinterest, not one little bit. And the bonus is you get some rich, cheesy, deliciously cheesy family favorite recipes for I don't know, macaroni and cheese or whatever that is. So you can tell your boss when they catch you browsing Pinterest that MJ told you it was a good place to copy dashboards, and they can yell at me. So now that you have all this data, now that you have maybe 6 months, 9 months, a year's worth of data. You need to do something with it. You need to get in your pink Cadillac Barbie dream car. You need to turn on the Indigo Girls. You need to go drive into the desert, and you need to do something with that data. Leaving it in a PowerPoint, leaving it in a spreadsheet does no one any good if you aren't really thinking about what it means. You know what I mean? If everything's even Steven, even keel, nothing's changing, maybe it's fine and you can just let it go. But if something's, the velocity is going up or the trajectory is going down, it's worth thinking about what that means about your users' behavior, their satisfaction or frustration, changes in the market, changes in your expectations. Like, what does that really mean? Get into the head of your user. And you know how you do that? You had someone like Vishali do user research. And so you understand what they need, what they expect, what their intent is, what they need from a digital experience, and what they expect in order to do business with you. So if you're not meeting your performance metrics, your revenue goals, if users aren't doing the thing you need them to do, whether it's on your website or clicking through an email or liking the thing on Facebook or Instagram or watching that video on YouTube, and all of a sudden your foot is flat and you don't know why and you're malfunctioning, what do? Now you can make educated decisions to move the needle. You're not just guessing. You're not wondering. You're not kind of throwing stuff against the wall, hoping that you're guessing right, because now you have analytics. You have a whole van full of Barbies in pink jumpsuits, ready to help you make better decisions. You have analytics. You have user research. You have best practices. You're keeping your eye on industry trends. Way in the back, you have Alan, and that's behavioral economics, which is the study of why people do the things they do. You have this whole SWAT team of things that will inform your decisions as you tweak your marketing tactics so that you're moving the needle in the right direction. And so you're not ignoring those moving numbers. You're not guessing when you're deciding what you need to change to get closer to your goal. You have data, you have research, you have industry trends, you have best practices, and you have psychology, all in your toolkit to make better decisions to get closer to your goals. So I was the nerd. So I went to a very, very small high school. I graduated in a class of 16, and one of those kids was a kid from Norway who was an exchange student. So my class was small. And so between 7th and 12th grade, every year we got to do the science fair. And I was a huge nerd, and I could not wait until 7th grade when I could finally do the science fair. And I had thought about it for years, and now I'm 46, and every once in a while I'll see a thing, I'm like, oh my God, that would make a great science fair project. So this is in my bones. So when I'm doing marketing stuff, my brain always kind of falls back to the scientific method. And so be like scientist Barbie and kind of follow this methodology when it comes to your analytics. And where we kind of pick up in the scientific method is with the hypothesis. And that's where user research comes in. So your hypothesis is what you think, because you did this research, what you think your users need and expect, and where they expect to find that information, how you think they, how they want to experience your brand, because you asked them a whole bunch of questions and you did those surveys and you did those observations. So you're making a very well-informed hypothesis. So that's the user research part. Next is test the prediction. So we think they need X, and we're going to meet that need by doing Y. Maybe that's personalization. Maybe that's writing a particular article. Maybe that's developing a product. Whatever that is, you're testing the prediction to meet their need in whatever way that is. And that's the marketing tactic or the product tactic that you develop. Next, to analyze the results is the analytics. That's all this data that we have in all these places. Every single product that we have invested in gives you some sort of data, and that's the analyze the results. And record the results is these pretty Pinterest dashboards that we're going to make for our clients every month, showing the trending and patterns and the data as it goes up and down every month or quarter or what have you. And then make a conclusion based on all these things that we've learned, based on the dashboards. Now we can make a better decision how we are going to change our tactics or our content or the experiences that we deliver. Maybe we do some A/B testing. But when we get to that purple, that purple section, make a conclusion, and we evolve our marketing tactics, it's based on a bunch of steps that came before it, so that we have to do less of the tweaking. And as the more we do this, the better we know our clients, the better we know their users, the better we know their behavior and expectations and intent, the less we have to do the tweaking, because we get better at this every time we do it, because we know our users, we've done research, we look at the data, and we get better and better at this. So, like I said, I don't need to preach to the choir here. We all want our clients to have good data. We want them to invest in this. We want this to be a priority for them. But if they've got a small budget, if they aren't able or willing to put a bunch of money into this, you can start small. You can start with Pinterest and a PowerPoint presentation and a spreadsheet and a few hours a month, and can help them kind of get on their way to making sense of all the data that's in all these places and start making better decisions on kind of a shoestring. And sometimes that's our job. Sometimes we have to help them make a lot with very few resources. And that kind of brings me to my last, I always kind of get on my soapbox at the end of these Sitecore user groups. So forgive me, I kind of get on my consultant rant. Everything is finite. Everything. There's an end to budget. There's an end to the workday. There's an end to our energy. My God, our creativity, our people. Everything is finite, so use it wisely. Do not burn out the guy that spends 40 hours a week cranking out emails if people aren't reading them, if people aren't going to the website, if they aren't clicking through, if they aren't buying the thing. Don't run that guy into the ground for nothing. Do more of what matters and less of what doesn't. If that guy can send one email a day instead of, 30, and then spend 7 hours a day doing things that make him more fulfilled in his job, provide a better experience and better content to their users, and provide a better ROI and better revenue for their company, everything's going to be better. Everything in the world is going to be better, but no one's going to know what that is without some numbers. And so spend your time and budget and energy and creativity on what catches your users' attention, makes their lives easier, and makes you money. And if something isn't working, make smarter decisions to get you closer to where you want to be. And so our job is to help our clients pay attention, be consistent, be disciplined. It's so easy to get lazy. I am the worst in the world, and it's really hard for me not to let things go. I'm great at starting things. Don't get lazy. And be creative, be generous, have fun. We work in marketing. This stuff should be fun. I mean, if the Barbie universe of marketing is any indication, if you aren't having fun in marketing, you're doing it wrong. And celebrate all your wins, big and small. If you increased your click-through rate by 0.1%, my goodness, buy yourself a Snickers, because that's a big win. But above all else, get out of your paralysis and just start, even if it's a teeny tiny baby step, and help your clients get there too. So I'll bet we have some questions. I closed the chat, so I have not been paying attention.
Thank you, Megan. That was amazing. Very informative. And I loved your scientific method process. That's awesome.
Nerds unite, for sure.
Yeah. We do have a few questions. So one comes from Rodrigo. He asks, could you please discuss about the challenge of involving the marketing team in this? And I believe you're speaking to the scientific process. Mm-hmm. He goes on to say, how can we make them understand it's not only about tooling, but the constant and cyclical exercise of develop a hypothesis, test, analyze, and repeat?
Mm-hmm. It's very often it's in their best self-interest to do this. It really is. They are accountable for making money. They are accountable for revenue. They're accountable for metrics around organic traffic and conversions and click-through rate. And the only way you can get there is knowing what the score is on the scoreboard. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes you don't want to know, but you need to know the lay of the land so you know where you need to get next. And I guess very, very rarely do we have a marketing team that's like, oh, we don't want to do analytics, but very often they just have a lot of other stuff to do. So our job is to make it very, very easy, and not add a ton of extra work to their already heinous workload, you know. So very often it's us doing this work and presenting them on a silver platter, this PowerPoint, you know, or whatever form this takes every month or quarter, however often you do it. So we're doing the heavy lifting of putting these together and telling the story for them. So to whatever extent you need to silver platter the data and the rationale to them, you may have to do that, at least to start out with. Because everybody is busy. Every single person is busy and overwhelmed. And so showing them the kind of what's in it for them, you know what, if we can do this for 6 months and start, you know, increasing your revenue, your KPIs, it's going to look good for your team. Help us get you there. And the other thing is we all have parts of our job that we hate doing. And very often it's the more mundane, meticulous, time-consuming stuff. We're creative people. We want to imagine and build and create and make things. And the things that I think drag down our morale and make us, you know, grumble about our job is the, you know, kind of putsy time-consuming stuff that is just a bummer to do. We can automate and take a lot of that off of our clients' plates so they can do the fun part of their job again. And so if we can tell them part of that story too, like, hey, let's figure out together what we need to measure, and then let us do this part for you. And we'll hand over the report. We'll help you make sense of it. We'll help you figure out what to do next. But, you know, we can do this for a fairly small budget, and it's going to help you a lot make better decisions. So that's kind of the rationale that we typically give, and reassuring them too that we're not doing some crazy, you know, Power BI, you know, we're not tying together all your systems.
Or
I mean, maybe someday they want to get there, but if you just need to get them started and just need to get them to invest a little bit of money, this is totally the MacGyver way to do it. This is super manual and, you know, kind of bush league, but it will get them started. And once they start seeing the value, then maybe after a year, they're willing to, you know, pay for the big integrated dashboard system.
yeah, no, and I completely agree. And if I may,
Mm-hmm.
most marketing teams want to do this. It's just to your point
Mm-hmm.
and how you've eloquently laid out for us here is that if you just take small steps, here's how to get started. And I think that's really
Mm-hmm.
what they're looking for because it is very overwhelming. So that makes perfect sense. We had one other question. What are the main metrics the marketing team should be watching to learn if the strategy is going in the right direction or not?
I would look at conversion points. If you want to just like narrow it down to your website, look at like form conversions. Look at the things that you're trying to get people to do on your website. So if it's filling out a form, if it's making a appointment, if it's registering for an event, that sort of thing, take a look at those. And if they're starting and not completing all the way, or if they're, you know, not watching a video to the end and the call to action is at the end, do some A/B testing. Maybe you're asking for too much information. Maybe the video is too long. If there's something that you need them to do in order to complete a transaction or do business with you, and you just can't get them to do that thing, that's where you need to focus your energy and your creativity and start doing some A/B testing. Because we had a client a few years ago, they had a form and it was just to download a brochure. Like, you would think that you want people to have your brochure so that they can get the information to decide if they want to do business with you. And they were like, oh, we just have an 85% like drop off rate of people who would start the form but not finish the form. And I took a look, and just to download a brochure, just a PDF, like they were asking for like a home address and phone number and email and all these things. And I'm like, you guys, you are asking for way too much information. I'm not going to give you my home address to download a PDF. Like, you should be begging them to take that off your hands. And it like never occurred to them that maybe they were just like asking for too much in exchange. So if there's something that you need them to do in order to do business with you, start tweaking that experience a little bit. Are you asking for too much, too little? Is the video too long? Is the most important information in the wrong place? And start there. If you have to start somewhere, start there.
Awesome. I have a question actually
Yes.
myself. So oftentimes, if not a lot of times, we inherit a client's Google Analytics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which then comes with the Google Tag Manager
Mm-hmm.
implementation. And most times there's an issue with their tagging strategy where we have
Mm-hmm.
to go in and reassess and overhaul. How have
Mm-hmm.
you handled that, and where would that fit in your process, would you say?
I'm going to be really honest. We have a world-class digital marketing business unit. So we have the luxury of pulling them in for that more in-depth data and analytics work. So their team would typically be the one that handles that for us. I'm very strictly Sitecore. So we may work adjacent to them, but I let them do the heavy lifting on that stuff. That's the luxury of working at a big company. I don't
That
need to
makes
be
sense.
the GTM expert.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. If anyone else on the call has a good answer for that or has run into that before, please speak up.
I don't see any other questions. Does anyone have any before we close?
I just wanted to thank Rodrigo and Brazil for hosting me today. It was really, really fun to be a part of this.